Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about 10 quick Archicad tips for faster workflow. These are the 10 tips you see on the screen, and in the description below you will have timestamps. So first we have Ungroup Tool, and it's used for line tool when you select geometry method chains. So I'm gonna draw a simple chain line, and as you can see when we select it, it's a group. So if you want to edit one part of the group but you don't want to ungroup it, you can just select suspend groups, and that way you can edit one part of the group but not the whole group. Good thing to bear in mind is to have auto group selected. Why? Because when it's not selected, when we draw a line, or at least we think it's gonna be chain line, it's actually gonna be not group because we didn't select auto group. So if you want to achieve this kind of effect, you just unselect auto group. In order to get this line back to the group, you have to select all the lines manually, click Ctrl G, or you can go to the edit, grouping, and you have group, but it has to be selected. Next tip is relink story. So this is used for 3D modeling mostly, but for 2D presentation as well. So here we have a slab and a beam. It's all on the ground floor. So if we don't want this to show on this story, but we want to show it on the first story, but not use floor plan and section display, as you can see, I'm gonna go in 3D just to show you it doesn't change anything. If I go to right click and say relink home story and say on the first story, okay, it's not gonna change its height, its position, its 3D elements, nothing, but it will relink it to first story. So on the ground floor now we don't see the beam, but if we go to the first story, it's there. Next tip is quick layers palette. This palette is very useful if you use layers, and I hope you do, because they are lifesavers. So when we are working with layers, we know we need sometimes not to see all the layers, and we have layer combinations for that. But if you're working really fast and you sometimes need to just see one layer or hide some layers because they are too messy on the drawings, this palette will help you. So it's here, we go to the window, palettes, and go to the quick layers. As we can see, it has some eye symbols, same as they are in the layers model views. So for example, here we have two structural bearing columns, and we have walls that are on the finish wall layers. So sometimes we don't want to see structural bearing wall or bearing layer, right? So we go selection layer is hidden. Now it's hidden, but most of the times we want to go back, right? So if you're using just the layers here, you have to go search it and then click C, right, and click OK, or you just go to the your layer combination and say drafting or whatever. But sometimes when you have many layers, that's really difficult. So if we hide this, and for example we are done making changes that we needed without this layer, you can go here, it's like undo quick layer action, and it brings back the layer you just hid. It doesn't bring back all the layers, just the one you made previously or whatever command you gave quick layers previously. This also has other palette that says other layers are hidden, and this hides other layers. So in this example, it just shows structural bearing layer, and it hid my text and it hid the walls. We go back, it shows. Also we can go redo, and still shows the same. It doesn't delete any elements. There are other elements to this. They are, when we select this, it says this layer can be locked, unlocked, as well as other layers could be locked and not this one. Here you have show hide layers toggle, and it will hide all the layers or show all the layers. It's really useful. as well as you can lock or unlock all the layers. Next feature we are going to talk about is Arrange Elements toolbar. So you can go to Window, Toolbars, and Arrange Elements. This is really useful. Why? Because sometimes when you're drafting and you see some mistakes or some elements need to be forward and not in the back, you mostly go to the right click, display order, and go bring to front, send to back, etc. And there are no shortcuts for this, so this toolbar is really essential for this if you don't want to go 3 extra steps and you just want 1 step. So for example, this text is underneath the column and I want it forward, so on my toolbar I can just go bring to front and it will bring it to front. It's really useful. It has all the elements display order has, as well as it has to lock elements, so you can lock just this element, not layer, or you can unlock this element as well as unlock all elements. Also it has show all layers palette, which is really useful, or just to open the layers, but it has suspend groups or auto group that I mentioned before. And also you have group and ungroup tool here, group, ungroup. Next thing I'm going to mention is grid system. It's here in the design, grid system. So firstly you have to select your geometry method. So first you have an orthogonal grid system, or you can go radial grid system. So you can elements at the grid line intersection. You can place columns, but also you can place objects if you have some specific objects that need to be on the grid line intersections. So you go to the settings, and here you can put whatever kind of column you need. Also you can select default beams on the grid lines, and you have settings for those beams if you want to choose what kind of beam you want. Also you can check this to place lines, dimensions lines, and you can enter the distance between the grid marker and the overall dimension line. Also on the settings you can select what kind of dimension type will this be. You can also select total dimensions. Next, here we have grid elements, so you can select markers on all the sides, an anchor point of the selection. Also I always pick auto stagger grid markers if they overlap, and these are the extensions that go, and these are their dimensions. Naming rules are pretty straightforward. You can go to the custom, or you can generate names automatically. I think it's easier to go automatically, and this is on the horizontal grids. You can choose which directions they go, A, B, C, or they go A, B, C downwards. If you select this, I'm gonna select this, start at A, and these are the types of, let's say this maybe. Also you can go prefix or suffix if you need anything else. Maybe it's not the main grid, maybe it's subgrid or something, so you need prefix or suffix. Also on the vertical grids you can say 1, 2, 3 or whatever you wish. I'm gonna put A, B, C, let's say this, and it goes from left to right or from right to left. I'm gonna stick to left to right. There are also grid positions, and these you can select what are the distances between them. So we have fifth one is 0. We have different dimensions, and these are auto generated, so I'm gonna stick to them. Here you can add new dimensions, new horizontal grid lines or new vertical lines. So I'm gonna select a new one and add a new grid line, horizontal grid line to your grid system. Here you can select vertical grid lines, change their dimensions. Let's say this be 350, and also you can add or remove some. So let's remove. You can also pick the layer for your grid system. So let's click OK, and here we are gonna position it, and also you can pick its rotation point. So let's pick this one. You can see they are dimensioned. These are the overall dimensions, and these are the dimensions between the grids. As you can see in the center there is a column. You can add it, of course, and there are beams connecting each grid's horizontal and vertical. So I'm gonna show you this in 3D just so you can see. Show on 3D. And here you have your quick grid system that you can use if you need quicker grids. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Unify tool. You can use all fills and the polylines. So here we have, let's start with polylines. Here we have different kinds of polylines all connected in the same dots or chained, I guess, but you want to make it just one polyline. This is really useful if you export PDFs into current views and they have multiple polylines that should be just one line. So here I selected all the polylines and I go to edit, reshape and unify. So now when I select this, it's just one line. This also can be used on different kind of fills that are overlapping, touching, or etc. So these are all the different kinds of fills, same fills but on the different positions. I'm gonna select all of them, go edit, reshape and fill consolidation tool. So you can trim overlapping fills, convert fill outlines into lines and arcs, merge identical adjoining fills. You have here merge layers where it merges layer or category to drafting fill, cover fill, etc. Okay, you can don't merge any fills that have outlines. You can merge identical fills if they have identical outlines, or merge identical fills regardless of their outlines. So I'm gonna go with merge identical fills because they are identical. If I go OK, they go to one fill. Next tip is adjust elements to slab. So here we have a slab that is a composite slab, generic slab roof, and here we have two different kinds of composite walls. So I'm gonna go for this we need to go to the section view. So I'm just gonna draw section. So what you need to do is select those two walls, go to edit, reshape, adjust elements to slab, and we have only one slab which is below the wall, so we're gonna below 2, core top, select OK. Were selected, and now we have those walls to the slab correctly adjusted. Next I'll be talking about how can you merge elements such as walls, beams and columns together. So for example, we have here two columns that are separated, but for an instance we want them to be just one column. So you select those two, go edit, reshape, and you go merge columns. Now when you go to the column, it's just one, and went to the custom column which is made with profile merger. So now we have two different walls here, one wall, second wall. We're gonna select those, go edit, reshape, merge walls. Now we have one wall which is custom wall. Now we have two beams here. We're gonna select those two beams, go to edit, reshape, merge beams. Now they are just one big beam, which is also custom. Next tip is for importing standard steel profiles. Maybe you need the standard steel profile but you don't want to look on the internet. You can import it directly from Archicad. Most of the time we go options, we go complex profiles and go to the profile manager, and there we make our profiles, right? So this is how you can import it directly to the customs from standard profiles. So we go options, complex profiles, and you can go import standard steel profile. So here you can use country code. We have Euro code, we have Indian, Italian, whatever you use in your US imperial, in metric, whatever. Let's for instance go to the Euro code. So here you can use, you can choose what kind of shape you want. Let's go circle, hollow. Here you have a diagram of all the dimensions you need. You just select one. Let's go with this one, add profile to the project, and here we have it. You can choose what material it is, and you go import. So now when we go here, for an instance, we go to our imported steel profile, and here it is. You can use it for whatever purpose you want. Last tip is on how to adjust 3D texture. I think this tip is really nice. I like to use it in my projects. It's not really essential because most of the times we do different kinds of rendering outside of the Archicad, but maybe if you're using Twinmotion or Lumion or I don't know, this could be useful if some of the textures are already set up. So here we have a slab. If I right click and go to show selection in marquee, we can see here this slab has its own texture, and as you can see, I don't really like how this ends with half of the plank, I guess. So what I'm gonna do is go select the slab, go to the document, we go creative imaging, align 3D texture, and set origin. So I'm just gonna set the origin to start from this point, and now it has a right amount of planks from that point. Next, maybe I don't like the way the planks go. I don't want to go from here to here, I want to go from here to here. So I'm gonna go select document, creative imaging, align 3D texture, set direction. So what we're gonna do is click on the slab, define angle graphically on the clicked surface. So I'm just gonna go from this point to that point, and now bam, we have different kinds of planks. These were 10 quick Archicad tips for faster workflow. Thank you for watching.